The showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I felt myself swooning 3 times. There are a lot of people on there. I've almost been trodden on 3 times too. Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the look of it. Here we are underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. You fucking twat. Right, I've had it in with you this time. I'm warning you. I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah? Go on then, Inspector. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence and you know it. Wait, I know those voices. You got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but not in the cells will teach you some manners. Just try it, I dare you, if you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo! Greg C, what are you doing up there? Oh, fucking hell. Ah! It's you! Here, you're here. Here you are, you lady sheep. How are you, lady sheep? I do hope you're well, you lady sheep. Does that make her 3 times a lady? I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, you lady sheep. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author. Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch your sunshine. Sorry. What gives then? Don't tell me you're on this case. Yeah, I'm acting for the defense. So we're here to investigate. Dear me, that's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling? A measly 5 bob? Is that all you... Oh, is that all you got? Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't ya? You could stand to carry a bit more copper out in your pockets, Mr. Naruhodo. What? Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is. You can have it back, but I'll have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob. This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago, this is the young girl I was defending in court. What's your problem, eh, Odo? Diver, pickpocket, what's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do you? I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed he'd been up to your usual tricks here at the showground. That ain't no way to talk to your lady, Odo. All for years long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you'll have to call me whatever everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now. Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. The Inspector report is entirely accurate. No one calls you that. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is of the cause for all of us. What's that supposed to mean? Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold the fort down here, alright? Right, sir. This This raises a lot of questions. So, this armband is proof, in Japan at least, that I'm a defense lawyer. And this badge is proof that I'm a detective. So you're all going to have to start calling me Inspector Lestrade. In that case, you'll have to start calling me, well, anything but Otto. I could call you Defender Naruhodo if you like, but it don't really trip up the tongue. No, it doesn't have a great ring to it, does it? Gina, would you take a look at... where'd it go? Hehe, looking for this, Otto? When did she do that? I wonder if you got anything else to show me, eh? What'd you reckon? Give that back first, please. Alright. So, it was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder. I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The driving weren't working out. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done. So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective? You got it? Good, innit? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh? Talk about a sea change. And then there's Iris' old man to think about. Iris' father, you mean? Yeah, I promised that, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him. Just a small promise, then. Nothing serious. Oh, Jenny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how come I had a go at the test for Scotland Yard. The trouble is, I don't read so well, do I? Just a small problem. Nothing serious. And that's when Early approached Gregson and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Jenny and made her a sort of apprentice. That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave. Well, you know, Early. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants. The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words. So, the long and the short of it is, if you've got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade. Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there? Oh, what, Runa, what? Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet, here she is still. Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper, or whatever it's called? Cool, you don't half worry, Otto. If I didn't half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left. It's like I told you before, innit? The Reaper's kind of like him upstairs, so he knows what I'm like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point. What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he? Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought. Exactly. So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Cool. It was out of this world, it was. That brainy black pulled a bunch of levers on his machine, and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Then it just went pulp. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet. Sorry? You mean you saw it, Ginny? With your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Of keeping everything running smooth, I mean. Well, boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose? That's gonna take some getting used to. So all I have to say is that I'm on duty, and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Ginny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You would have no trouble at all. Then it's settled. When do I start? No. You can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this: if the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success? Oh, right. Well, it was a success. In a way. It was? How can it have been? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success. It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of smoke in that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the crystal tower over there. What? In the tower? In the middle of the explosion? You can see it for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. Oh, where all the glass is broken in, mate. Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So, you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's a plan of the experiment they drew up at the yard. Are you sure? Course I'm sure. Go on. I had free bob off here before, so fair's fair. Yeah, I didn't actually give that to you. Did I? Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. Yeah, naughty old Gregs. He ran off after that without explaining himself. Oh, right. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations? Nah, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate neither. Why? What did the boss call him again? The forensic investigation team, I think? Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, innit? So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate? Yeah, I've never heard something like that before. All four could have a gander of the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard me out for about it before from down here, didn't you? It's not bleeding fair. I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it. Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Odo? Go on, see if you can get through to him. He's up on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine that exploded is? We can try, can't we, Reno? Gregsy will listen to us. Alright. Alright, sorry about that, folks. I had to take a little bathroom break. But now we're back. So. Let's look at this sketch. Alright. Does the angle, the trajectory have something to do with it? So I'm guessing the machine was supposed to beam him somewhere here, in this area, maybe. What do you think about this, Gina? Would you take a look at? Oh, where'd it go? Oh, you took the thing that you gave me. It's very mature. Right. Okay. Oh look, what's this? A ripped piece of cloth. It's unlike any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It looks extremely durable. It's canvas, I think. with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well. Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion. Let's make a note of it while Ginny's mid-yawn. Found under the experimentation stage. There are scorch marks at the edges. Alright, what else can we find? For some reason, the ground is damaged in this spot. Look, almost as if there was a fire here or something. Yeah, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers too. Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this would have been. What? People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this would have been. Oh, I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back right now. Oh, what do we got here? It looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree just here. Dropped or hit. What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded? Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps. What's going on here? Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this just in case. Very curious device. Almost had been hidden there deliberately. Deliberately. It looks like layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Sholmes' methods, you might deduce it was a part of a raincoat worn by someone who really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not. Something very similar to it, I think. What is this? Is this a crossbow or something? Ah, there's some sort of lever here. Yeah, it is a crossbow. What the hell? What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. Interesting. It looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than a Japanese longbow. I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Yeah. This groove here must be where the arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right. It is a sort of a bow with an atomic firing mechanism. This would be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear. This would be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with the bowstring 2 times out of 3. In fact, if I'd had one of these, maybe I could have beaten Kazuma in Kudo archery training. Kudo. Alright, that's enough of that, I think. Oh. Alright, never mind. Okay. Let's keep investigating. The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan. There are lots of exhibits inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. Well, I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors. Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw. And thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut. Certainly it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower. Apparently everyone's taken to the skies now to look down on the disasters on the disaster area from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in a balloon now. Wanderers must be very patient people. This platform must have been set up for the experiment, I suppose. It's very high up. About 30 feet above the ground, apparently. That's what a policeman I just spoke to said. I don't really understand feet very well. We don't use them in Japan. Oh yeah, sorry. It's about 9 meters. But soon you'll have been in London a year, Runo. It's time you got used to our measurements. Yeah, well, this thing is so tall, the spectators at the front would just have seen a wall and nothing else. They probably thought they'd secured the best spot to watch from, only to be disappointed. There's a saying in Japan, the darkest spot is right under the lighthouse. I feel like it probably applies here.
Yes, the darkest spot is under the lighthouse.
These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. Oh. Climbing up the stairs, and... So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up? Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion, and I've seen my fair share. You've seen things like this before, you mean? Of course, Early's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry. That might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs. One time he made something that exploded with such force, it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd have been there to see it, Rene. It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof. Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate. Oh, look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing up the machine carefully. Really? He just looks confused to me. Does that mean we can investigate the scene without him noticing us? There are all sorts of strange buildings here in the Great Exhibition Grounds, aren't there? I seem to remember something similar being exhibited in Japan one time. Oh, in your country, Reno. I do wish I could go and see it. I present a particularly steely samurai with a present of one of Early's stories I had written especially. And see if I can get Early into a jam against some Barititsu master ninjas. You might not find as many of those sorts of people around as you think. Well, that's dull. Oh, but I do know a prosecutor with a con mage top knot I can introduce you to. A con mage, really? Do you think I could have my picture taken with him, dear? Assuming he's recovered from the trim Kazuma gave him a year ago, yeah. Okay. What is that gigantic thing over there? It looks like an enormous water wheel. Oh, that's a Ferris wheel. There'll be people riding inside those little cabins you can see. Why? Well, they rotate nice and slowly, so it's a wonderful way to see the surrounding scenery. Wait, it's turning, but it looks completely still. Yeah, that's because it's turning so slowly. One complete revolution takes about half an hour. If you were mad enough to go in one, it would be more fun to whiz around fast, don't you think? I feel as though you might have just invented a new sort of ride there, Runa. Yeah, we'll call it the speed wheel, or Naruhodo's fast wheel machine. So it ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it? Magnificently. and mercilessly. So someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air. Yeah, beamed. Not blasted, that's the point. Yeah, that part's crucial, really. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris? Oh, Rena, I'm just a child. How should I know? A child when it suits you, you mean? From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever...
Stop! Don't touch it!
That was practically instantaneous Kinesis the way you flew over just now, Gracie.
Please, you lady, I didn't mean to shot you, but I can't let you touch anything up here.
So sorry, you can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it.
Wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful.
It's just like old times, this is. We're representing Professor Hairbrain in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene.
Ha! Listen, Sunshine. Even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame. It's driving me potty.
Oh yeah, that special dispensation. The professor mentioned that too.
More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks is playing at sometimes.
But we're allowed to just look, aren't we?
Hey?
Sure, that's alright, isn't it, Grexy?
Of course, your ladyship, mate, if you say ladyship. But please don't get your dirty hands dirty, will ya?
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Rena?
Sheila knows how to get what she wants.
Oh. So... Did I already give you this? This is the symbol of a defense lore where I come from, Inspector.
Well, it doesn't cost much day in London. You might as well chuck it in the deep fat fryer.
No one's ever said that to me before. Mr. Shum suggested I feed it to a dog, though.
If you fry it first, you can feed it to me.
Does he think it's made of potato? Inspector, have you read this paper?
Yeah, 2 unwelcome blasts back to back. This one at the expedition, and the Ripper getting attacked.
I know, terrible news to wake up to, wasn't it?
I tried to pretend I read it and turned it over for another 40 winks. Thanks to that, I was right up and got a roasted from the super.
Some mornings are like that, aren't they? As a detective, what do you make of this?
Personally speaking, 9 times out of 10, I'll find clues turn out to be red herrings. So there's every chance that's totally irrelevant.
That's actually a fairly persuasive argument. Alright. What about this? As a detective, what do you make of this? Okay. As a detective, what do you make of this? Okay. I'm guessing that if we try to show this to him, he'll just take it from our hands. So, using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body and then beam him across to the Crystal Tower, it's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public.
True, it was by far the most unusual experiment planned for the exhibition, mind.
To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean.
The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the old spot of public safety infringements. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, in a way.
So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on scientists' rights at the moment.
What sort of rights?
They're making it so that any theories that the brains have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through developing it into a practical idea and even go into production. Which is the which is the inferior indigenous coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new highfalutin special dispensation for scientific equipment that forbids it.
Ah, I see now.
The only people with permission to investigate here are for some brand new department of the yard. The Forensic Investigation Team is called. We've been relegated to keeping guard.
A forensic investigation team?
Any old fool can see that this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we can't do a flaming thing with it.
Poor Gregsy. He's very het up, isn't he? Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. And there we go. Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the scene here?
Are you having me at it, Sunshine? It's the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
Yeah, I think Early mentioned that recently, with a real twinkle in his eye, as I remember.
Well, I'm sure he did, ladyship, I'm sure he did. Past especially for this great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service, and if it gets rubber stamps, that's a guarantee of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality.
What does that really mean?
Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself.
Thanks for that. Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun.
It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these shammers' bogus contraptions.
But if they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point.
Yeah, well, there is a point, sadly.
Sorry?
Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant.
The scientists get funding.
Exactly, and that's what they're all after. All these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science. Hang it.
Oh, maybe I can see your point. Apparently Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research.
That's right, came back to Britain especially for the Great Exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants.
Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. About his time in further education. It turns out he was at a university with someone we both know. Lord Van Zeeks.
Hey, what's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zeeks managed the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is
sealed? Because the Reaper will get him one way or another?
Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh yeah, but Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper... how long is that business gonna keep up, I wonder?
You alright? You got something to say? The victim of this case, the investor, Mr. Asman, he was another one of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard.
Lord Barrett Van Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win.
Yeah, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it?
Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zieks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court.
Although the man himself denies that charge.
Well, we've done a very thorough investigation. And the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zieks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would.
But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them.
I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper.
Professor Harebrain mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zieks was a totally different person. Easygoing and kind.
You what?
He said that it was after they both graduated that something happened to change them. Do you have any idea what it was?
No clue.
Really?
Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh?
Huh. Okay. I guess that's the end of that. Can we try examining stuff now? Considering how badly damaged everything is, Professor Harebrain was lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. We should have a good look around the machine while we can, I think.
Touch anything, I'll make sure I kill you before I get struck out myself, yeah?
I won't touch a thing, I promise, so please, spare a thought for your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims?
He asks, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we?
Because of the annoying rules, you mean?
Exactly, the annoying obstructive flaming rules.
Oh, look at the base of the machine there. Oh yeah, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh. It's a screwdriver, I think. Oh, isn't it a lovely one? The handle is in the shape of a capital letter A. Is it? Oh, yeah, you're right.
What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said. Touch anything, I'll make sure I kill it before I get struck out myself, I said.
Yeah, I understand. Sorry. I only touched it a teeny weeny bit. But Gregsy, I'm very curious about the screwdriver. Really very, very curious.
Of course, your ladyship. You're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it.
But Runa found it first.
I assure you, I'll investigate it thoroughly.
He's gone off with it. That was very mean. I'm afraid Inspector Gregson is gonna make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now. Poor Gregsy. Well, that's it, I think. That's all she wrote. That amazing horn-shaped device is pointing towards the Crystal Tower. I suppose once people are disassembled by the machine, they're shot out of that thing to wherever they're going. I don't think it was supposed to shoot anything right now. It was set up to beam people to the Crystal Tower, where they'd be reconstructed in their original form. Well, I don't like the look of it. If it was as amazing as it looks, the accident wouldn't have happened in the first place, of course. Oh, I suppose that's true, yeah. But nothing ever goes according to plan, does it? Oh dear. So those are people carrying balloons, dangling silently in the skies over London. I always thought the day would come when humans would discover how to fly, but I never imagined it would involve them being suspended from colorful floating Tamari handballs. I'm sure it must feel amazing being up there among the clouds. Let's take a ride together right now, please. If I'm being perfectly honest, I would like to try it. But without a cast iron guarantee that the thing won't plummet to the ground, I'm too scared. Oh well, in that case, I should tell you what Early said. It's physically impossible for a flying balloon to plummet to the ground, as long as it doesn't explode. Yeah, call me crazy, but I think that exploding part might play on my mind a little. Okay. And I think it's time to go downstairs. Right? How do we... Alright. Oh. How do we go downstairs? I don't... How... I'm currently upstairs, so... I'm trying to find a way downstairs, but... I don't know how. I climbed up here by examining the stairs, so... One would assume that... Okay, maybe if I do... this... and then I do this... There we go. Nope. Okay, there's a couple of things I missed, I'm sure. Let's see. Oh. What? That's where the cove ended up after his instant Kinesis, or whatever they call it, dedicos. And yet they're calling the experiment a success. What's the wooden scaffold there for? Coppers, our lads, set that up after the incident happened. To get the boy down, I think. Dunno, really. Didn't you help to erect the scaffold then? Nah, look out, duty's more my thing. Wandering around the exhibition and keeping a lookout for the fun stuff. Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? Runo, listen! What? What is it? Oh, I've been thinking. Hurley might know something, mightn't he? About what? About Mr. Reaper. About what happened to Lord Van Zeeks, you mean? Because it sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he? Here, this is what you need. What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madam to Spells. Is this supposed to mean something to me? You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We could go now if you like. No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow. But that's where Early is. What? At this popular London attraction? Yeah. How is it that you know where he is? Early tell me. But he told me to keep it a secret from you, Runo. Madam to Spells. I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then, stranger things have happened, and when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them.
Hey, what do you think of this? Oh. This? Nope. Okay. Let's go to Madam Two Spells. What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes. But why are the people so still? Guillotines? Ruthless murderers? I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. They're old wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Reno? Shocked? What? Wax models? I read about dead bodies and wax once in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. It's called adipocere. Adipocere. Stop talking about creepy things like that, Reno. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocere doesn't form. What now? I've just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display. None of the exhibits in here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas. They can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. Oh. There's no way anybody could make models of people that are this realistic. And they're all such gruesome scenes. Wait. What is it? Oh, no. I must be seeing things. Alright, where to begin? Is this some infamous murderer? Yeah, called Jane the Ripper. All the victims were young women. I knew it. You could tell by the way she's holding that knife. Sure signs of a murderer. Well, yeah. What's the matter, Reno? I've worked it out. I know what she's doing. She's trying to fill that bathtub with blood so she can have a soak in her victim's gore. Not according to the information about the exhibit on the little board here. It doesn't mention anything about the bathtub. Really? Sorry, I don't think it's significant. I still think it has to be there for a reason. Jane the Ripper. Please do not touch the statues. Is that an arm? It looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the waxwork models have fallen over. You don't think it could be the work of one of the best murderers in here, do you? Who knows? Stop scaring me. Is it a wax arm? Or a real one? Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels. Objection. That big heavy curtain is in a very prominent position, isn't it? I have a nasty feeling there's gonna be something truly terrifying behind it.
Oh yeah, that's the famous Two Spells special exhibit. It depicts one of England's most notorious killers. Do you want to pay the extra fee and have a look? Pay more money to be even more terrified?
Oh, let me think about that for a moment.
It was only a suggestion.
No, thank you.
These models are so well made, I can't tell what's a waxwork and what's a real human. Or maybe all the exhibits are real people, and when it's closing time and all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about.
Just thinking about it makes me wish it was closing time already and I was on my way home. Alright. Is this an example of Western Sujigiri?
Oh, I don't know what that is. You know, when an unscrupulous samurai randomly attacks a passerby to test his sword? I still don't know, no. But actually, a waxwork samurai would probably be hugely popular. Could you model it, do you think, Renault? Doing that Tsujigiri thing you mentioned?
Well, I do have a sword, but I have no intention of testing how sharp it is on a human subject. For now, at least.
Oh, that's a funny place for a little ladder.
Why is it? Is something wrong?
No, it's just that in Japanese we have a totally different word for a ladder that folds in half like that. We do in English too, you know. It's a step ladder. Or just steps. So be careful of making assumptions about other cultures, Reno. That's how wars are started.
I didn't realize stepladders were an international point of contention, but the writer makes an astute point. Okay. Nothing but statues here. It's the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes has his own wax statue in here? Really?
Well, he is world famous after all. It's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? It makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know. But look, Bruno, you can kick this early, and he doesn't move a muscle.
You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris.
Wait. It just moved, I'm sure.
And not just a little bit, either.
Really? Did he?
Look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris?
Over there, look. There's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing. My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner, as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes? I knew it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruhodo.
Temporary waxwork?
What do you mean? That kick! Could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me! But Bruno has something he needs to ask you. A question. And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are. Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that, and my great brain upon which all my success has been built would have turned into wax.
Thank goodness we arrived in time.
Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss. Oh, hell, you do lot to talk nonsense, don't you?
You could know something, it's true.
About Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him? Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For you are in luck. I'm certainly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that it is related to the matter about which you have come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. Well, back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit. Wait, but I have a question for you. Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Harebrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at university together. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zeek such a different person. I was sure that you know, Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before. That something was afoot, and that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about? Mr. Sholmes? He suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems we have reached the unavoidable... Greetings. Hello? Where'd she appear from? And what's she wearing? Could she look any more mysterious?
I hope you're appreciating my museum.
Sorry? Mr. Sholmes, do you know this... Not again.
My apologies. I am Esmeralda to Spells. This is my museum of waxworks.
What? You're the Madame to Spells?
Bien sûr, though only 26 years young, I might add.
Is that significant somehow?
I am a madame in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi.
Right.
Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather, one waxwork in particular.
That'll be Mr. Sholmes then.
I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble.
She sounds deadly serious. That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zeeks now? Let's not forget what Early said before, about something being afoot right here in the museum, I mean? Yeah, I know, but... I'm so curious. I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Okay, so... Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Two Spells?
I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know.
Gosh.
It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. So that is when she acquired the savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing lifelessness.
Oh, these waxworks really do look as though they're alive. In fact, they look more alike than early.
What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled. In the hours immediately following their executions, that is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness.
That sounds terrifying.
All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Oh, why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying?
Do not fear.
Sorry.
This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it. Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things. What's the situation with, that?
Ah, my temporary waxwork model. You approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear madam, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective.
Oh, words to that effect.
Ah.
Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it.
We, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms.
Let me guess, someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services? For a mere £500, I will dive into a cauldron of wax this very moment.
Oh, words to that effect.
Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment due to unforeseen circumstances. So he came to the current arrangement instead.
Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he?
I would think not, but he was very insistent.
I have a 50-shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning.
Oh, words to that effect.
It's the pawnbroker, that's where it is. He must have something to redeem. Is the consulting detective work not going well? I wonder, could I ask you something?
Bien sûr.
I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps?
Whoever suggested such a thing to you?
Well, it was your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned me. Oh, he's disappeared.
A wax model is a work of art, not some dodgy object for trade.
Oh. There you are. What'd he say? A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade.
Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down?
But, my dear madam, to spell, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It is our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead.
Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police.
Why the not?
She's turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I prefer... No, I insist upon payment in advance.
Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we?
Before I engage my analytical process, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain?
That is the two-spell special exhibit. There's an extra chance to see it.
Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer then, I presume? Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder?
Absolutely not. There's nothing amiss behind there.
Nothing amiss, madam. What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond, before the situation worsens.
Oui, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a super cone.
I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The two-spell special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the Waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is a portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. Well then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I am afraid not, my dear fellow. He is a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit.
Why would you say that?
And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. She looks as pale as candle wax.
I don't understand.
So, Madam Two Spells, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200.
That is all my own money.
So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, as it would seem, Madam Two Spells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice. Waxwork for sale. Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of £200.
None.
Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you.
Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively.
What are you suggesting?
He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of 200 pounds. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extraordinary amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result, the scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not played with regret. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly...
What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief, such as is worn by the policeman as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman, currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay.
What are you talking about?
The man's quite a celebrity. He received several accolades at last year's policing awards.
But...
Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with the particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicion, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Threepence. A tragically low price, we might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant 200 pounds. The sort of plucky behavior that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam?
I do not...
Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in this special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great detection of this horrifying puzzle. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Early, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point! I am all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So, that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Automo. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the aether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Automo. So you mean that's who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed, it is a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is £200 a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that put things in perspective. So it's quite a lot, then.
Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down.
That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. Oh, the smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistant here, Iris, if that's alright, to make some minor corrections to the Great Detective's great detections. Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Two Spells vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Two Spells, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Again. Hold him, Mr. Sholmes. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200.
That is all my own money.
So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Two Spells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice. She definitely looked in this direction, it's sure, but I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for £200. Oh, she must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. Oh. For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the £200 could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. Significance of the £200. What is the significance of the £200? Is it the public notice? Is it the man? Is it... Let's just... Those are the only... Oh, wait. Oh! Let's look at the other stuff first. Waxwork for sale. Would anyone really buy models of mass murderers? I think I'd rather have £200 in my pocket. Exactly. You could buy one of those brand new types of steam carriage. That's what I'd spend it on if I had it, no question. Oh, I'll buy all the herbs in the world. There must be another explanation for the money. We need to keep looking. It seems this well-dressed gentleman is alive after all. Just not alive and kicking. And he's not a waxwork or a model of a mass murderer. I'm not sure I'd pay £200 for him. I don't think the man's up for sale. Well, anyway, it was a silly place to put him. Other museum visitors could easily trip. I don't think the man was put there on purpose either. Alright, what does this say? What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Oh yeah, let's see. Dear Madame Two Spells, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is £200. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd of October. What? It's just like that sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yeah, it's a ransom note. Exactly. Dear Madame Two Spells, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is £200. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd of October. You can't deny, that's a very well lit well-written ransom note, clear and concise.
And the ransom amount is £200. Alright.
The significance of the £200 is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness, abducting a waxwork. £200 is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it.
The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have.
In summary then, the £200 we have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. So the waxwork was kidnapped. Where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? We could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yeah, you're right. Oh, he's trying so hard. We mustn't let him down. Well, there is little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Two-Spells trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. Let's eye her up and down. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Madame Two-Spells has very long hair, doesn't she? Yeah, but you couldn't tell looking at it from the front. You know, it looks rather like a whip, don't you think? The sort of whip that could have floored the gentleman with a single crack. That seems a little far-fetched, even for you, Bruno. Oh. What the? This is just Madame Two-Spells' right hand, isn't it? Yeah, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand, after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is a left hand as well, look. She has two left hands? Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really odd. You mean it's made of wax? So she was prepared to pay all that money to get her waxwork back again. It really must have been a very special model. Of a mass murderer, just how special can a model of a ruthless killer can be? Well, anyway, we can be fairly sure the man lying on the floor didn't take it. I suppose we should leave him in peace. Alright, I guess it has to be the wax hand. She smacked him on the face. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow.
How could you?
The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape, it ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that in fact it's a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of a waxwork model.
Gah. Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage.
So you mean that arm...
Oui, this gentleman saw fit to try to move it as a souvenir.
No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
I am afraid I had to teach the men a lesson.
You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly...
What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yeah. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard. That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is in any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tuspel's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. I've seen hats like this in Japan as well. They're called flat caps, aren't they? Yeah, or hunting caps. Early's hat is called a deer stalker, by the way. Hunting, stalking. The British certainly seem keen on catching game. Every time I see a deer stalker, I automatically think of Mr. Sholmes. But a flat cap makes me think of a Japanese country gentleman somehow. In other words, people from all walks of life wear all different types of hats, so that doesn't really help us. A secret scarf sign to warn the other agents of an ongoing crime. Oh no, it sounds so thrilling, doesn't it? Maybe I'll try to work it into next month's installment. But then the police's secret will be revealed to all of London's 6 million inhabitants. Well, they'll just have to come up with a new song, I suppose. How does this 10-year-old manage to have such terrifying influence? What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah, well that settles that then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off, from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find out the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth, of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded that he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 pricing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicion, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Automole, was it? Was he well known? He was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price though. 30p isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas at Mr. Garrett's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit? Is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried ransom for £200. Is this crusty old killer policeman Automole? Really? Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up. I don't believe it. It's a secret song that lets other detectives know some criminal activity is underway. Yeah, it's a slightly strange choice of outfit if he was trying to go unnoticed. He must be a detective disguised as a policeman. Or a detective disguised as a waxwork model of a policeman. He doesn't look like he's clever enough to think of something like that, though. Perhaps you should try to be a little more polite about him, Iris. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He seems to be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean it must be a twitch? Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Oh, twitch. And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Well, there you have it.
Take that!
A telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Twistbells?
Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He's clearly fatigued. He's sound asleep.
But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3p? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, the secret sign used by the detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway.
Of course, because as you know, there's been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, detective.
So, it would seem that we finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle.
All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway... Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe.
It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I have no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted.
Oui, tragically it was.
And I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in as much detail as possible, if you please.
Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work.
The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Alright then. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please.
It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that the waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here.
It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed.
And I found the ransom note in its place.
The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then. So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose?
Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor.
Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry? The Professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it? Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time that Baruch Van Zieks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying. So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life. As you have surmised, it was the Professor case. Who was this professor then? Tell us more.
It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in a terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death.
And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Early?
Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy, members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... Wait, of course! What Professor Harebrain said. Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood. Oh dear. It was the 5th victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of Clint Van Zieks. No, I don't believe it. Van Zieks? I am sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Baruch pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. as a waxwork exhibit.
I am afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Oh. Let me do that again. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. It's been too long, it really has. I am delighted to see you, Barok.
It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places.
I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Osman. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen.
Tomorrow the court will decide.
Yeah. I have a young Eastern man active for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident, a terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it.
I must warn you.
Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you?
Yes.
Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barok, are you really...
What?
Never mind. I know that you have my best interest at heart.
My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else.
Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Barok.
Until tomorrow then, I'll see you in court. To be continued.